The 15 legendary black supermodels then and now, Iman, Grace Jones, and Beverly Johnson, are striking names associated with the golden era of the fashion industry, yet an era also filled with harsh prejudices. You will be astonished to hear their stories about the journey to break invisible barriers and claim their exclusive status. We are our memory vault, your companion in this video. This video is designed to be a companion perfect for you to enjoy during your moments of rest, gathered around the dinner table with family, or while doing light housework. All information in this video has been meticulously researched and refined from multiple documentary sources by the Our Memory Vault team. However, knowledge is endless. If there are any details you would like to contribute, please do not hesitate to leave a comment below so we can improve every day. Do not forget to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and turn on notifications to be the first to watch our latest videos. Now, let us begin right away with our very first icons. Iman. The first spot on our list belongs to none other than Iman Abdul-Majid, a proud symbol of African beauty. When she set foot in New York in 1975, the fashion elite were immediately captivated by her angular, commanding, and deeply regal beauty. However, behind the glamour of prestigious magazine covers, Iman had to face a harsh reality. The beauty industry at that time completely ignored women of color. Makeup artists did not even have foundation shades prepared to match her skin tone. From our perspective, this lack of preparation was not just an inconvenience, but a clear testament to the fashion world's systemic indifference toward diverse beauty. But instead of accepting her fate or merely uttering words of complaint, Iman turned that silent frustration into an empire. In 1994, she launched the brand Iman Cosmetics, creating a true seismic shift by providing specialized beauty products for women of color that major brands had neglected. This move demonstrated a mindset ahead of its time. When you are not given an opportunity, build a new playing field yourself. Our memory vault truly admires her sharp intellect. For Iman was not just selling cosmetics, she was selling confidence and the right to be recognized to millions of women globally. Iman's personal life also carries deep marks of greatness and profound grief, especially her beautiful marriage to music legend David Bowie. After he passed away, she chose to preserve that love in a private, resilient, and deeply dignified manner. Today, in her twilight years, Iman remains an irreplaceable monument, a silent humanitarian activist, and a living proof that while physical beauty may fade, intellect and a business legacy will endure forever. She is the gold standard of a true supermodel. The elegance of Iman is just the beginning, as the next figure will leave you in awe when she boldly shatters all traditional molds of feminine beauty. Do not look away, because the most astonishing stories are still ahead. Grace Jones. If Iman brought standard elegance, then our second figure, Grace Jones, was a whirlwind that broke all traditional norms. Born in Jamaica and raised in a highly disciplined environment, Jones found absolute freedom in magnificent Paris during the 1970s. She boldly shed her long feminine hair, opting instead for a sharp, angular, and androgynous flat top. The Our Memory Vault team believes that Grace Jones's transformation was not merely a style choice, but a bold, artistic manifesto directly challenging society's narrow definition of femininity and the beauty of women of color. Throughout her golden era, Grace Jones became the muse for countless renowned photographers and designers, from Yves Saint Laurent to Kenzo. However, behind those powerful frames, she always had to fight to reclaim control of her own image from the hands of men who wanted to turn her into a lifeless statue. We believe that Jones's true strength lay in her ability to turn her body into a contemporary work of art, where she was both the material and the free artist composing her own life, refusing to be molded by anyone. What makes Grace Jones immortal in the hearts of older audiences is her unpredictable ability to transform. Not stopping at the fashion runway, she stepped into the realms of music and cinema, leaving deep, indelible marks. It is truly astonishing that at the age of nearly 80, this woman still retains her proud aura, continuing to perform and dominate major stages around the world. Grace Jones's legacy reminds us that being different is not a weakness, but rather the ultimate weapon to overcome the harsh test of time. Beverly Johnson. In the third position, let us look back at the tumultuous story of Beverly Johnson, the woman who created a true cultural earthquake in August 1974. That was the historical moment when her beautiful face appeared on the cover of American Vogue, marking the very first time a model of color received this immense honor. Looking back at that moment, the Our Memory Vault channel considers this not just a personal victory for Beverly, but a symbolic turning point, throwing wide open the doors of hope for thousands of young women yearning to assert themselves but previously rejected by the fashion system. Yet glory always comes with invisible costs. To maintain a perfect image on prestigious publications, Beverly Johnson had to endure immense pressure regarding weight standards imposed by editors. The extreme dieting pushed her into habits that severely devastated her health. We feel truly heartbroken realizing that the very industry that once honored her was the same thing that nearly destroyed her life. Johnson's story exposes a very real hidden corner behind a radiant smile in front of the camera. There is sometimes a hidden pain that cannot be spoken. Through resilient willpower, Beverly Johnson pulled herself out of the deep abyss of toxic habits to be powerfully reborn. She did not choose silence, but boldly spoke out to expose the injustices, even proposing the Beverly Johnson rule to promote equality in the fashion industry's hiring practices. Currently, although she has passed the peak of her career, her voice still carries an invaluable weight. She is not only a legend of the past, but also a brave warrior in the present, protecting the younger generation of models from the very traps she herself once experienced. Beverly Johnson had to trade her very health to open the door of history. But our next legend chose to kick that door down with a fiery personality. Are you curious who this thorny queen daring to challenge the entire fashion system might be? Naomi Campbell. Moving to our fourth figure, we must mention the name that has become the very definition of the title, Supermodel Naomi Campbell. Discovered on the streets of London at a very young age, Naomi quickly asserted her status with a magical catwalk strut capable of mesmerizing anyone in the room. When she became the first black model to appear on the cover of French Vogue in 1988, she proved that extraordinary talent could defeat any limits of prejudice. The Our Memory Vault channel asserts that Naomi's stride did not just display clothing. It was the assertion of the power of an uncrowned queen in the fashion world. Despite standing at the pinnacle of fame and being warmly sought after by luxury fashion houses, Naomi Campbell never escaped the injustice of pay disparity compared to her white colleagues. However, patience was not a keyword in her dictionary. Instead of yielding, she continuously spoke out to demand rightful benefits for herself and her community. Although the media frequently tried to paint a portrait of her as a difficult and controversial woman, we believe that in such a harsh industry, if you do not equip yourself with sharp thorns, you will easily be trampled upon and forgotten. Over 3 decades into her career, the magnetic pull of Naomi Campbell has never shown signs of cooling down. She still proudly strides down major runways, appears gorgeously on magazine covers, and actively mentors younger generations. Even though she still occasionally faces controversies related to charity work or her personal life, no one can deny her monumental impact. Today's Naomi Campbell is a multifaceted portrait, brilliant, strong, but also filled with authentic flaws. It is precisely that imperfection that makes her legacy deeper and greater than ever. Tyra Banks. Rounding out our first 5 figures is Tyra Banks, a symbol of perseverance and outstanding strategic thinking. Before becoming a name that guaranteed success, few knew that Tyra had been bluntly rejected by 4 modeling agencies because her appearance did not fit the contemporary tastes. However, with an iron will, the young girl from Los Angeles traveled to Europe and quickly conquered the most prestigious runways. Tyra becoming the first black woman to solo dominate the cover of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue was a powerful slap to restrictive beauty standards. Tyra Banks possesses not only a lovely face, but also an acute business mind. Recognizing the short lifespan of a modeling career, she independently pivoted to television and created the globally renowned show America's Next Top Model. Our Memory Vault highly values this astuteness. Tyra cleverly transformed her hard-earned experiences into an entertainment empire, granting opportunities to countless young women and permanently altering how the public views the fashion industry. She taught us a lesson: create your own power instead of waiting for others to bestow it. Behind the radiant smiles and successful career, Tyra Banks also hid secret corners full of sorrow, especially her arduous journey to seek the gift of motherhood. The repeated failures of in vitro fertilization left deep emotional scars within her. Nevertheless, the arrival of her son via surrogacy reignited the light of hope in her life. Now, having entered her 50s, Tyra still confidently struts on the Victoria's Secret runway, brilliantly proving that a woman's beauty and value are never limited by the numbers on her identity documents. Naomi Sims. Standing at the 6th position in our honorary list today is Naomi Sims, a woman hailed as a beacon of autonomy and sharp intellect. In stark contrast to her contemporaries, who often passively waited to be chosen by agencies, Naomi Sims forged her own destiny. When bluntly rejected by a series of modeling agencies in New York because of her skin color, she did not fall into despair. Instead, she directly contacted renowned photographers and negotiated photo shoot contracts herself. The Our Memory Vault team truly respects this resourcefulness and independent spirit. Her historic appearance on the cover of Ladies' Home Journal in 1968 was not just a brilliant fashion moment, but a firm manifesto on equality, proving that regal beauty is not confined by any ethnicity. However, behind the sparkling aura of the photo shoots lay a very harsh truth that few understood. Naomi Sims frequently had to enter studios where makeup and hair professionals entirely lacked the skills to handle her hair texture and deep skin tone. She constantly had to prepare everything herself to achieve the most flawless look. Deeply aware of the systemic deficiencies and superficial attitude of the fashion world toward women of color, in 1973, right at the peak of her fame, she decided to retire from the runway. This decision shocked the public at the time, but to us, it was a wise strategic step back to prepare for a much grander leap forward in the future. Stepping away from the camera flashes, Naomi Sims poured all her dedication and hard-earned experience into building a multi-million-dollar business empire specializing in providing wigs and cosmetics exclusively for women of African descent. Even though she passed away in 2009 from the cruel disease of breast cancer, the legacy she left behind lives on forever. She taught future generations an expensive lesson: when a system refuses to serve you, do not beg for their pity, build a new system of your own. The transformation of Naomi Sims from an alienated model into a powerful businesswoman remains an endless source of inspiration for us all. Pat Cleveland. The 7th spot calls out the name Pat Cleveland, a radiant goddess carrying an explosive energy who breathed a completely new artistic life into dry runways. Discovered by chance at a subway station in New York, the girl who grew up in Harlem brought the full rhythm of jazz, the wildness of theater, and a burning passion into every stride. Pat didn't simply wear clothes to display them, she truly danced and lived alongside them. The pinnacle of her career was the historic Battle of Versailles event in 1973, where her proud strides, along with other American models, completely defeated the long-standing fashion houses of the Parisian capital of light. The Our Memory Vault channel believes that Pat Cleveland was the one who redefined the concept of performance skills, turning an ordinary catwalk into an ultimate visual art performance. Despite devoting herself wholeheartedly and generating millions of dollars for the fashion industry, Pat Cleveland's life exposed a bitter paradox about the ungratefulness of the elite circle. She once staunchly boycotted shows in America until a woman of color appeared on the cover of Vogue magazine, demonstrating an incredibly strong spirit of racial solidarity. Yet in 2019, when she unexpectedly received a diagnosis of colon cancer after a show in Paris, her family had to go online to crowdfund because they could not afford the medical bills. This incident leaves us deeply saddened and raises a massive question. Why would a luxury industry, which once made a fortune from her talent and youth, leave a legendary icon struggling financially when facing the line between life and death? Overcoming all adversity. Just 6 months after the life-or-death surgery, Pat Cleveland performed a miracle by proudly returning to the runway, proving a fierce vitality that nothing could extinguish. She did not try to hide the traces of her illness, but turned them into a symbol of resilient survival. Currently, she is not only a renowned former supermodel, but also a living historical witness who has seen the ups and downs of an era with her own eyes. Through Pat's story, we realize that true beauty does not lie in layers of makeup or expensive outfits, but it shines the brightest through the unyielding will of a human being when facing the storms of life. Daniele Luna. Coming to our 8th figure, Daniele Luna, we enter a story full of mysterious avant-garde colors, yet also the most melancholic in fashion history. In March 1966, the young girl from Detroit shocked the world when she became the first model of color to appear on the cover of British Vogue. With her striking height, a slender, lean figure, and strangely large round eyes, Daniele Luna possessed a surreal beauty that transcended all traditional aesthetic frameworks of the time. However, the perspective of our memory vault points out a heartbreaking reality. The media of the 60s did not honor Daniele as a talented woman, but they exploited her as a bizarre creature, a unique toy to satisfy the curiosity of the white public. Implicit discrimination and being stripped of valuable commercial advertising opportunities in the US pushed Daniele Luna to Europe in search of a freer space. Here, she immersed herself in the underground art world, participating in independent films by legendary directors like Andy Warhol and Federico Fellini. She turned her life into a surreal play, rejecting all classifications of identity. But it was that very eccentricity and intense desire for freedom that pushed her into profound isolation. The fashion industry was ready to drain Daniele's unique beauty to create lifelong frames, but was completely irresponsible in protecting the young girl from the deadly temptations of the contemporary artistic circle. The brilliant yet brief life of Daniele Luna closed in tragedy in 1979 when she suddenly passed away in Rome from a drug overdose at the age of 33. For many decades after the name Daniele Luna was almost entirely forgotten, her pioneering contributions buried by the dust of time. Only recently, through documentary films, has her legacy gradually been restored and properly recognized. We believe that Daniele Luna's story is a profound cautionary tale about the price of fame. She used her own life to open the door for models with unconventional beauty, but had to endure an agonizing loneliness while standing on the podium of glory. Veronica Webb. In complete contrast to the tragedies of disillusionment, the 9th figure, Veronica Webb, is a symbol of brilliant intellect and an admirable steadfastness. Initially, she came to New York with the dream of becoming an animator, but fate favored her with a detour into a professional modeling career. With a calm, elegant demeanor and the depth of knowledge radiating from her eyes, Veronica quickly caught the attention of major giants like Chanel and Versace. A historic turning point occurred in 1992 when she officially signed a multi-million-dollar exclusive cosmetics contract with Revlon. Our memory vault notes that this event completely shattered the deep-rooted prejudices of the business world at the time when they conservatively assumed that the face of a woman of color could not stimulate sales on a global scale. Refusing to be just a beautiful doll silently displaying outfits, Veronica Webb used her sharp pen to raise a powerful voice. She became a journalist, an excellent essayist, frequently condemning racial discrimination and the oppressive hidden corners of popular culture. She rejected being forced into a mold representing a single community and stood proudly in rooms full of powerful executives to demand fairness. To us, Veronica's bravery lies not only in shattering the glass ceiling of the beauty industry, but also in her courage to use knowledge to reshape the ideology of an entire generation. Veronica Webb's journey is a perfect testament that beauty can walk hand in hand with intellect. Even more amazingly, upon reaching the age of 59, instead of retiring backstage, she still confidently appeared full of glamour on the cover of Harper's Bazaar. She sent a highly formidable message against ageism in the fashion industry, that middle-aged women do not lose their appeal, ambition, or commercial value. They have every right to claim public space proudly without having to utter a word of apology to anyone. Veronica Webb is truly a living encyclopedia, inspiring confidence and an eternal youthfulness from deep within the soul. Karen Alexander. Closing the second part of the list is Karen Alexander, a woman carrying the essence of a true warrior, a symbol of beauty that does not surrender to the storm. At the beginning of her career, Karen had to face bitter rejection from a series of major modeling agencies. They offered utterly ridiculous reasons, sometimes calling her too tall, sometimes too muscular, or simply having no commercial value. However, with an unshakable determination, she smashed all doubts when she continuously appeared in top publications like Vogue and Sports Illustrated. Karen's success from the analytical perspective of Our Memory Vault is the sweetest clapback to those who intentionally underestimated the potential of girls with multifaceted beauty who did not conform to traditional standards. Amidst the peak of her brilliance, Karen Alexander faced a daunting crossroads that any woman must ponder, choosing between the halo of a career and the sacred duty of motherhood. The fashion industry is notoriously cruel, often considering age 28 as the expiration date for a model. But Karen bravely chose to step back to devote her full love to her children. She accepted a somewhat quieter career to preserve her family nest. However, real storms struck in 2016 when she received a diagnosis of a rare autoimmune disease, causing her muscles to weaken, directly threatening her ability to walk and live normally. Imagine a woman who once made a living through a perfect physique, now having to struggle to keep her body from collapsing. That is a profound agony, both physically and mentally. Yet it was precisely in the darkest adversity that Karen Alexander's true beauty radiated the brightest. She did not shy away from her illness, but bravely faced it, discarding straight wigs to fully flaunt her natural curls, even revealing the hair loss caused by her treatments. She became a fiercely inspiring ambassador for patients in similar situations. The image of Karen today is no longer the flawless, immaculate model of the 80s, but a woman of experience with gray hair bearing the scars of time and illness. We offer our deepest respect to Karen because she elevated the definition of a supermodel. Not just someone who wears clothes well, but someone who knows how to stand firm and shine even when life strips away all their physical privileges. Munia Orosman. Moving to the 11th position, we admire the beauty imbued with the breath of the Caribbean of Munia Orosemena. Starting out simply as an ordinary airport announcer in Martinique, the young girl's life turned to an entirely different page when she set foot in glamorous Paris in 1976. With graceful strides full of magic, Munia quickly caught the eye of the legendary Hubert de Givenchy before becoming the irreplaceable muse of the great designer Yves Saint Laurent. The Our Memory Vault team always recognizes that Munia was not merely a wearer of garments. She was the direct source of inspiration for Saint Laurent to create fashion masterpieces right on her very body. Despite being draped in the most luxurious haute couture outfits, Munia still had to face a bitter truth of that era. When she became the first black woman to strut in a Chanel couture show, the Western fashion elite largely viewed her merely as a curiosity-driven breakthrough rather than granting her true power. Fashion has a tendency to remember the names of the white designers who created the clothes, while inadvertently forgetting or underestimating the dedication of the models of color who breathed life into them. The constant need to prove her self-worth in an environment that considered her a novelty demanded an admirable resilience of steel from Munia. Refusing to let her image be frozen on magazine pages or old videotapes, Munia Orosemena painted a new life for herself after leaving the runway. She transformed impressively into a painter whose works are exhibited internationally, a recording artist, and a dedicated humanitarian activist for poor children. In 2009, France officially awarded her the title of Knight of the National Order of Merit, an entirely deserving honor for a lifetime of dedication. Looking back at Munia's journey, we see a complete portrait of a multi-talented artist who used her beauty to conquer the cradle of world fashion. Alec Weck. The 12th figure brings one of the most emotional and fiercely inspiring stories, Alec Weck. Fleeing the brutal civil war in her homeland of South Sudan at just 14, Alec carried horrific memories of gunfire separation and the pain of losing her father when she arrived as a refugee in London. When When accidentally discovered at the age of 18, Alec's beauty went completely against all the strict norms of the 90s: hair cropped close to the scalp, pitch black skin, and authentic African features. Our memory vault assesses that Alec Weck's appearance was not just a fashion phenomenon, but a cultural shock that smashed the appeasing beauty standards that brands had imposed on women of color at the time. The most shining milestone must be 2004, when Alec Weck made history as the first model of color to hold the vedette position, wearing the prestigious closing wedding dress for Chanel's haute couture show. This event carried immense psychological weight. Oscar-winning actress Lupita Nyong'o once confessed that seeing Alec Weck celebrated by the world helped entirely change how she viewed her own dark skin. Alec's presence on the runway healed the wounds of low self-esteem for millions of girls of African descent, proving that authenticity is the sharpest weapon that no layer of makeup can match. Never resting on her laurels, Alec Weck turned her fame into a guiding torch for the less fortunate. As a goodwill ambassador for the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, she has traveled everywhere to protect the rights, education, and dignity of those forced to leave their homelands. She wrote a memoir facing her traumatic past to awaken the conscience of the world. From a penniless refugee girl, Alec Weck became a symbol of power, teaching us a profound lesson. Never change yourself to fit the gaze of the world. Make the world learn how to admire your true beauty. Leah Kebede. The 13th position calls the name of Leah Kebede, a woman who completely redefined the concept of an international supermodel's responsibility. Leaving the capital Addis Ababa of Ethiopia for the bustling city of Paris, Leah's serene, aristocratic, and intellectual beauty quickly helped her reap countless successes. The year 2003 marked a monumental turning point when Estée Lauder, one of the most conservative cosmetic empires in the world, chose her as their first black global face. However, behind that glamorous recognition, Leah's mind was always directed toward her homeland, where medical and beauty privileges were something incredibly luxurious and absurd for millions of impoverished women. The perspective of our memory vault truly and deeply respects Leah's profound humanitarian mindset. Growing up in a country where childbirth could easily take a mother's life due to a lack of medical facilities, she clearly understood the vanity of the fashion industry if it did not create core value for society. How can we passionately sell expensive lipsticks when out there mothers are still collapsing from pregnancy complications that are completely treatable? The torment urged her to become a goodwill ambassador for the World Health Organization in 2005 and later established the Leah Kebede Foundation herself to protect the lives of mothers and newborns. Not stopping at mere charity work, Leah also demonstrated an excellent economic vision by founding the brand Lemlem, creating stable employment for traditional weavers in her homeland. She also utilized the art of cinema, notably her role in the film Desert Flower, to bravely condemn the physical abuse of women. Leah Kebede's career is a miraculous transformation. From a model draped in luxury goods, she became a solid shield, protecting the right to life and dignity of African women. Her legacy lies not in the number of magazine covers, but in the number of lives she has reached out to save. Joan Smalls. Nearing the end of the list in the 14th position, we meet Joan Smalls, a vivid testament to the resilience against multi-layered barriers in the fashion industry. Hailing from the land of Puerto Rico, Joan carried a beautifully diverse heritage, but also faced many thorns when stepping out into the vast ocean. Even though she rose to the #1 spot on the Models.com ranking in 2012 and was the first Latina model to represent Estée Lauder, her journey was never strewn with roses. Hidden behind her powerful strides was the persistent physical pain caused by congenital scoliosis. She had to grit her teeth to train and hone her physical strength to conceal the truth that every hour standing in high heels was a true battle with her own body. The harshness did not only come from illness, but also from the deep-seated prejudice of the fashion elite. Joan Smalls was once deeply outraged when treated by brands as a mere formal window dressing. They ignored her Latina identity, forced her to alter her natural hair, and even bluntly rejected her because they believed black models cannot drive magazine sales. Our memory vault sees that this exposes an incredibly cruel hidden corner No matter how outstanding your talent is or how hard you try, the system will always find a way to drag you down simply because of your roots. Joan's patience in the face of these injustices is truly worthy of our admiration. Instead of staying silent to preserve lucrative contracts, Joan Smalls chose to stand up and challenge the entire system. In 2020, she made a shocking decision by announcing the donation of half her income to support movements fighting for racial justice. Furthermore, she strongly demanded that major brands hire professionals of color into core leadership positions behind the camera. Joan Smalls refused to be a victim of discrimination. She rose up to seize power and used her own position to shatter outdated rules, reclaiming respect for her entire community. Jourdan Dunn. Closing the list of 15 legends is Jourdan Dunn, a beauty from the UK, with a deeply moving story about maternal love. Accidentally discovered in an affordable clothing store in London as a teen, Jourdan quickly made history when she became the first black model to walk for Prada after more than a decade of absence. Appearing on the special edition of Vogue Italia firmly solidified her status. However, behind the blinding flashes of early success was a massive tribulation. She became a mother at 19, and it was even more agonizing when she learned her little son Riley suffered from severe sickle cell anemia. The Our Memory Vault channel deeply empathizes with the internal turmoil that Jourdan had to endure. Surely there is no greater pain than a mother having to leave her sickly child at home to fly out and work in fashion capitals, constantly in a state of anxious fear of emergency calls from the hospital. She had to hide her tears and anxiety behind flawless makeup to complete photo shoots. The contrast between a lavish, vain fashion world and the harsh reality beside her son's hospital bed honed a Jourdan Dunn who is more mature, pensive, and stronger than anyone else. Not surrendering to fate, Jourdan turned a mother's ultimate fear into the power of action. She became an ambassador for the Sickle Cell Society, striving to organize fashion events to raise funds and elevate community awareness about this disease. More than 15 years since the day she broke the barrier at Prada, she continues to shine brilliantly in major campaigns. Jourdan Dunn's journey proves a beautiful truth. The greatest supermodel is not the one who wears the most glamorous clothes, but the one who knows how to use her halo to shelter and bring hope to the vulnerable in society. Ladies and gentlemen, 15 faces, 15 different stories, yet all sharing an indomitable, unyielding spirit. They did not just change the face of the fashion industry, but also sparked revolutions in awareness, protected human rights, and redefined the standard of true beauty. Our Memory Vault hopes that through this video, you have received profound values about courage and tolerance and had warm, nostalgic moments beside your family dinner table. Please do not forget to support our team by hitting the subscribe button, liking the video, and turning on the notification bell to await the next fascinating historical stories. We wish you health, peace, and see you next time.